Hey y'all, and welcome to Modern's Market, and welcome to the Room by Room High-End Dupes Challenge. This challenge is where we go find something that's super high-end and recreate it ourselves for much less. This is hosted by the Freckled Mom, and her co-host today is That Crafty Quinn, or The Crafty Quinn. Let's get right on into my DIYs. So for DIY number one, I am making this humongous picture that you can get from Kirkland's for $129.99. Yeah, that's right. $129.99. Now, when I did it, that's what it was. But when I went back to get the picture for this, it was on clearance, of course. So anyway, I just took the measurements to Home Depot. They were gracious enough to cut them out for me, or, cut the plywood for me. I got this sort of thinner plywood, had it cut to the specs of the one from Kirkland's. It cost me about $2.50 for that piece of plywood because it was a scrap piece. I took my hand sander and I sanded it down to get a really smooth surface. And don't be scared of power tools. They are so easy to use and I love them. Now this is my skill saw, or whatever that thing's called, miter saw, I think, where you miter your ends to make the frames come together. Now this is just a 1x2 or 1x4. No, that's a 1x2. And I'm just placing it after I've already measured and marked it, cutting my edges, cutting my corners, and getting them ready to put my frame together. Now once I get everything cut down to where it needs to be, I'm going to sand those down and just make sure that everything's smooth. There's not any splinters or anything. That's my granddaughter Macy helping me. I'm teaching her how to use power tools and she loves it. And so we get it all sanded down and get it ready to stain. Now this is the cheaper wood and it takes on stain absolutely beautifully. I love the way this particular wood looks once you stain it. It just shows every teeny tiny little crack and dent and knot in the wood, and it's just stunning to me. So I go on with this Varathane wood stain called Jacobian. It's a very dark stain and I love it. It is gorgeous. And like I said, this wood takes it beautifully. Now my grandbabies happened to be here at the time and they wanted to help. So we gloved them up, gave them a little thing with some stain on it, and they went to town. And then Macy and Riley helped me with the White Waverly chalk paint to paint my base. And once we all got together and started painting, it didn't take us but about 20 minutes to get the whole thing done and ready to go. All we had to do then was wait for it to dry. Now, once it was dry, I kind of put it together to make sure everything was, like where it needed to be. And then I took my, what is that stuff called? It's Oracle stencil film. Now, I'm going to have that link down in my Amazon store below if you want to try it. It is amazing. Now, look here. When you see the way that I cut this, you're going to go, what in the world were you doing? I was being lazy. And I was trying to be thrifty and save myself some stencil film. So I cut it to where I could fit everything on one piece. And boy, did I cut it close. But that's okay because it all worked out in the end. Once I got it cut out and placed on my board, it was perfect. You just lay it out. The only thing is you got to make sure, you see where the blue is, you got to make sure that you put some tape or something right there at the edges to make sure that you don't get your black paint where it's not supposed to be. You see how I kind of like pieced some pieces together? And then before I did that now, I went in with some Mod Podge and sealed the edges in. I forgot to tell you that part. Then I went back with my ink by Waverly. And now when you are doing your stencil, I've said this before, but if you've never seen me do this before, you do not want to paint or swipe. You just want to daub up and down until you get it until you get the coverage that you want, because you can always add more, but it's really hard to take more off. So then I'm going to go in with my white Waverly chalk paint again, and I'm just going to sort of dust over the top of this. And it gives it sort of like more of a distressed look, because what I have found, if you have black paint and white, and you take your hand sander or whatever, it tends to like get muddy. You know what I mean? So now I'm taking my staple gun, and I call myself stapling my frame together. Well, that was a hot mess. That did not work. So I ended up making me some pilot holes. I took all the staples out, made me some pilot holes with the help of my honey, and we did it the right way. Now, I did add some wood glue in the corners of each one of those. I put these little hooks on. I screwed my plywood to my frame, and look at the result. That is a $130 Kirkland's dupe for $5. That's right, $5. That 1x2 for 8 feet, or however many feet it was like $2.50. The backing, like I said, was only $2 and something. So with the paint and the stencil film and everything, I figure I've got about $5 in this whole picture. So don't tell me it can't be done. I think it looks beautiful. Now, I always think my own work looks beautiful, but I want to hear down in the comments what you think about this high-end dupe. Did I do it justice? And now, I know I nailed it on the price point for $5. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this. Now, for DIY number 2, I made this adorable little riser. Now, I saw this riser on Etsy for $35. Not that one, but one similar. But now, when you see that $35, that's just for a 6-inch one now. And as they got bigger, her price went up. So I was like, no, I can make one. It's not going to look identical, but it'll be the same general idea. So I took these little rounds that you can get from Hobby Lobby, and I took some 10mm beads, and I made me like a little sandwich. What is that? Like an ice cream sandwich. It's what it looks like to me. And then I got these little things right here from the Hobby Lobby. And they're just little candle cups is what they are, but I'm using them for feet for this riser. I glue them to the bottom with some wood glue and go in with white Waverly chalk paint. Give it a really good coat of paint all over. I should have painted the beaded part before I put it together, but it's okay. It didn't look bad in the end. You couldn't really see through the holes anyway. So I gave it that coat of white Waverly chalk paint. Then I went and I distressed it with the Waverly Antique Wax, which is so beautiful when you're doing farmhouse stuff. And then I had this little stencil from Waverly, another plaid product, and I took my antique wax and I just daubed again. Anytime you're using a stencil, you just want to daub or dab. And just did that little piece in the middle just to give it a little bit of cuteness and character. And then I took my hand sander, sanded it down, and voila, it was done. It cost me about $5, maybe $6 if you want to count the paint and stuff, to recreate, or not recreate, but to create something sort of similar to what I found for $35. So again, let me know down in the comments what you think about this high-end dupe. Did I do it justice? And what do you think about the money that I saved in making it? Now, this next one I made last year for my daughter for her birthday. She wanted this, and it was $130. Again, that was something that was on sale at Kirkland's. When I went back to find the price, I made it so long ago it was hard to go back and find my old pictures. Anyway, I took this big, huge wreath form that I got from the Dollar Tree. I found where they welded it together, and I just kind of bent it a couple of times until it popped in half. Once I got it popped in half, I took these ping pong balls that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I think I used 4 packs. And you got to be careful because if you squeeze them too hard, you're going to like put dents in them. So what I ended up doing is I took the tip end of my Surebonder glue gun and made a hole. It was real hot and it just melted that plastic perfectly. So I melted a hole on each end, and as I was melting them, I was threading it onto my wreath form. So after I got that done, I glued the little piece back together, but I ended up having to wrap it with some tape to really hold it in place. Once I got that done, I took it outside and I gave it a really good coat of Rust-Oleum 2X Smoky Beige spray paint. And you can't really tell that I spray painted it, but there is a big difference. They were white, and then when I was finished, they were like a smoky beige that the color in the picture that my daughter sent me was. So once those dried, I took them inside and I began to attempt to make the rest of it. Now, I still have a hard time making bows, but at this point right here, I was brand new, and I did not know what I was doing. So you'll see what a hot mess it was, but it all came together. So I start taking these little twist ties. Chenille stems, that's what they're called. Lord have mercy, y'all. Anyway, took the chenille stems and kind of tied everything together and got it on the ring. And once I got it kind of where I wanted it, I would add a little couple dots of hot glue, because again, I was new and didn't really know what the world I was doing. Now I would use zip ties. They are so much easier, and it's just easier. Anyway, this is my pitiful attempt to make a bow. Y'all don't laugh. It is sad, but it didn't turn out too bad. I mean, considering I was so clueless and didn't know what in the world I was doing, but I was sure trying, wasn't I? But anyway, I finished making my bow, got it together, and added it to my wreath. And I wish I would have ironed down the edges of that bow to make it really stiff like the picture, but I didn't, and it is what it is, and it turned out cute anyway. And once I got it kind of all in place and added my bow, that's it. That's all there really was to it. And I would love to hear what you think about the way it turned out down in the comments. And if you've been watching me the whole time, how do you think I'm doing now? Like, I still can't make bows worth a flip. So don't judge me in the bow department, because I still am not good at bows. But anyway, oh yeah, I forgot. I did cut the ends of those of the bow pieces. Lord have mercy. You know what? I get so frustrated when I can't talk. Anyway, now I'm going to glue the bow on, which I would not do now. And then once I got it glued on, I did go back and add some chenille stems. But that is my little, or big, huge, it's actually huge, and that is theirs. Like I said, if I would have ironed down my bow, it would have been really close. Now, this DIY right here is just a little throw-in, add-on extra, but $87.28, really? Well, I had one under my cabinet forever and ever and ever. It always got pushed around, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a facelift. So I took the bottoms off, got it cleaned up really good. Well, I cleaned it before I took the bottoms off. I added some white Waverly chalk paint, gave it a good, I wouldn't say good coat, because I didn't want it to be like a full coverage, because I knew I was going to go in and sand it and distress it anyway. So you'll see that I kind of half-heartedly painted it and then went in with the sanding block, sanded it down to rough it up some. And then I took these really pretty rub-on transfers, which you guys know I'm obsessed with rub-on transfers right now. They are so easy to use, and you can get them at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. So I cut this real pretty piece off the top, and I had to use 2 packs because I wanted the same pattern. And I just rubbed it on, and that's all there was to making this. Like I said, it's just a little cute addition, just something else to throw in there. Turn it kind of high end from something that kind of stayed in the bottom and got pushed around. I did add some satin Mod Podge to it to seal everything in. And now if you were to put food on there, make sure you put a little doily or something on top of it, so you don't want to, that's not food safe Mod Podge that I put on there. Then I added the feet back, and that was it. It was done, and I thought it was just so cute, and just needed to add something else to the video, and that was it. It was perfect, and I love it. I love the way it turned out. Now it is not under the cabinet anymore. It's actually out and being utilized. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think about that. I can't believe it's been sitting down there. Honestly, it's probably been down there for about 10 years, and that's no exaggeration. 10 solid years. But I love the way it turned out. And it actually matches everything else in my kitchen now, so it will definitely be used more often. But I just want to say thank you so much to Devin and the Crafty Quinn for having this playlist today. Make sure you go down and go to the playlist link, watch what everybody else has for you today. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think about how I did, and definitely, if you're not a subscriber, I would love for you to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up no matter what if you like what you saw today.